will speak to it. They will look at it this way. They will look at it that way. Parliament will speak to it. Finally, the final product will come from public participation.
And that is the essence of my question, Mr. President, if I may conclude it. That is the essence of the question, because Kenyans will speak. It will go to the floor of the House. They spoke on housing levy. It went to the floor of the House. It was changed, totally different from what was taken to the people. How shall we trust the process?
You know, that's what democracy is all about. You know, many people actually have told me, what you're trying to do in Kenya is not possible. Because many countries that are democratic, you cannot do this. For you to do this, you have to be like country X, where the president says, and it's final. You know, that is what happened in other countries. I don't want to mention countries. Yeah, this only happens in countries that are not democratic. But I'm telling them, I will persuade the people of Kenya. That's why I'm sitting here. I am sitting here to persuade the people of Kenya, so that because I know what we are doing is not normal. And by the way, it is not that I expected that it was going to be smooth sailing. I knew it was going to be difficult. Because what I am trying to do is transformative. What I am trying to do is to change Kenya. I am challenging the status quo. I am challenging what has always been there, the norms. And that's why even you guys, you look at me and you're wondering. But you know, that's how we're going to change a country. Changing a country is not a walk in the park.
Tahusisha wananchi katika swala.
Kabisa, si ndio nimekuambia, saa hizi tumepublish regulations. Sasa imeenda
bila mabadiliko yoyote kama
imeenda kwa wananchi.
Na je, hisia za mwananchi utazisikiza ama utazikumbatia?
Vile wananchi walibadilisha housing levy, si nilikubali. So ikienda bunge, ikienda kwa wananchi wenyewe waseme,
citizens that changed it is parliament.
It's parliament.
You should go and read the public participation report.
I read it, and majority of them were opposed to the introduction of it.
Read it again, and Parliament took into account the views of the people who went to for public participation. And you see, Parliament is also an independent institution. You want me to dictate to Parliament, and I will not, Sam. You know that's not possible.
Mheshimiwa, naomba tuendelee na mjadala sasa katika swala la vita dhidi ya ufisadi. Umekuwa na umetoka kifua mbele, baadhi ya hotuba zako katika kipindi cha wiki moja pia imesisitiza sana swala hili la vita dhidi ya ufisadi. Lakini kwa upande mwingine hizi asasi ambazo zimepewa majukumu ya kutekeleza vita hivi pia ni kana kwamba vinasukumwa huku na kule. Kwa sababu gani? Nitakupatia mfano. Kesi ya Kimarer na Aror hivi majuzi imetaja kuwa hakuna ushahidi wa kutosha. Kulikuwa na jitihada pale za tume ya ufisadi na maadili nchini katika kuhakikisha kwamba wanatengeneza kesi. Je, ina maana kwamba asasi zako kuna baadhi zinalegea katika kutekeleza wajibu wake, kwa mfano afisi ya DPP?
Kwanza niliwaambia Wakenya katika serikali yangu hakutakuwa na pesa ya kuibiwa. I think I made that statement. I said there will be no money to be stolen. And many people are wondering what that meant. Because what we are doing now, for example, and I will come back to your question, because we are talking about corruption.
Yeah.
How do we put mechanisms in place to stop theft, corruption, pilferage? And I have told you the greatest enabler that is going to make us overcome the challenge of corruption is through digitization. It is the reason why I embarked on digitizing government services. From 350, now we are at 14,000. We were collecting 60 million on e-citizen every day. Today we are collecting 600 million every day. My plan is that by next year, we should be collecting minimum 2 billion shillings on e-citizen every day. What does that do? It stops the corrupt. It stops people stealing. It stops pilferage. And for your information, let me just give you a statistic. KWS, right? Their budget for a whole year was 4.3 billion, but given them actually a budget of 4.5 billion. In 6 months, because of e-citizen, in 6 months, they have collected 4.3 billion. Half the year, they have collected what we had what they had been given as an estimate for the whole year, which means by the end of this year, they will double their collection. Just giving you one incident. So what will that do? That is how my plan on how to manage corruption, number one. Number two, I promise the people of Kenya that the independence of the judiciary is going to be sacrosanct. I can tell you for free that they have never received a telephone call from the president to tell them, manage this case in this manner, that manner, this corrupt person or that corrupt person. I promise the same to EACC, I promise the same to DCI, I promise the same to DPP. It is their responsibility. They ask me for support, and I have given as much support as I can muster to all these institutions. Let's come to the, are they doing what they should do? It is not for me to judge. It's for the people of Kenya to judge, because they report to us. I am telling them what I can within the separation of powers, that it is our expectation. That's why I'm speaking publicly, in public fora, to tell them, look, the people of Kenya have expectations that those who are corrupt, and if there is anybody who is corrupt, has a matter, and they say, and one of the agencies say, oh, the president told us not to prosecute this person, I would say in public, in front of TV, they should tell me, because I will never do such a thing. Coming to Kimwarer, if you followed Kimwarer, I said in the campaign trail that the case for Kimwarer was a fraud, because it was, because it was. Because that case was being used politically. And that is why I have said, we do not want political cases. And that's why I have told the investigative agencies, I don't want them to help me with politics. I will do my politics. I will look for supporters. I will look for all these groups, lobby groups and what have you. I will do politics. Them, they should dispense justice. And under my administration, there is nobody who will be prosecuted because of politics or politically, or because they are not aligned to this way and that way. But nobody is going to hide behind politics. That because you are a politician, or because you are a friend of the president, or because you are a relative of the president, you cannot be prosecuted. That one I have said in public, and I have told every cabinet minister, nobody should go to their office and tell them the president has sent them, or they are a relative of Mr. X or Mr. Y. I will not send anybody to any office to do anything. They must do their job in accordance with the law.
Mheshimiwa Rais, unaposema kesi ya Ruto na Kimwarer ilikuwa ni utapeli, unamaanisha kwamba hakuna pesa zozote za mtozo ushuru zilizopotea katika kesi hii inayohusiana na mabwawa ya Ruto na Kimwarer?
Sisi ndio tulipoteza hiyo pesa, kwa sababu serikali wakati ilienda ikasimamisha the contractors went to court, right? Because they hadn't committed any crime. Number one, we were supposed to give them land to do the dam. We didn't give them the land. The land was there, but somehow, and I don't want to accuse, I think we have said, let's not talk about the past. Whoever was there decided they should not get the land because they wanted to frustrate the project. The land, the thing disappeared. The DCI was mobilized to go and get the contractor in Itare. Up to today, nobody knows what the problem was with Itare. They went to court. We have had to go and negotiate. I have had to go and negotiate with Italy, for your information, for us to settle, because we were going to pay 40 billion for nothing, without anything on the ground. So we've had to negotiate.
So then, is there a correlation between your negotiations with the Italian government, and the president was actually here, of Italy, that is? Is there a relationship between that and the withdrawal of charges against all these accused persons?
No, ask the court. I mean, the court has been going on.
Yeah.
What did the court say? There were no witnesses because what happened?
The court
witnesses
said this was a prosecution-driven acquittal because there's no longer any cooperation. And the reason I'm asking this question is because you stood at the steps of the front of this building and you said that you have agreed with the president of Italy to withdraw all cases against the farms in Italy, and Italy was also going to withdraw all cases against the government of Kenya.
Correct.
So I'm asking the question because initially there were several people that had been presented before court. Some of them, I think even the current central bank governor, Kamau Thuge. Is there a relationship? Because you said withdrawal will be done.
When we talked about...
Is there a consequence?
No. What we said about the withdrawal was they took us to court in London. We made a counterclaim just to make sure that we are not exposed. So when we made the counterclaim, then that's how the case was continuing. So we said, for that matter, they are going to withdraw their case in the arbitration court. We were going to do the same. It had nothing to do with the cases in Kenya because the cases in Kenya were criminal. The cases in the arbitration were contractual. So these were very different cases. So the case has been going on in the Kenyan courts. Mention after mention. I mean, and by the way, those cases were going on even before I came to office. They had been there for 3 years and it hadn't moved 1 inch. Why?
Do you think there was any feasibility study done on the two dams? Do you know of any?
That is now for you to determine.
No, I'm asking
because
you.
I mean, you have all the information because you know that there was supposed to be a feasibility
study.
You must be having the information.
I don't have the information. You're the president of Kenya.
Should be
What's their feasibility study?
What I can tell you is that contract of Kimwaren and Aror was signed with other contracts, similar contracts, in the front of State House here, in the presence of the president then. I wasn't even there.
And that's what I'm asking.
Those contracts were signed.
That's what I'm asking you. Are you aware of any feasibility study for the two?
I am aware that the contracts were as legitimate as they were signed.
Okay.
They were signed before two heads of government at that point in time.
So,
and if there was any problem with them, it should have come out in court.
The reason I'm asking that is because you then, I don't know, should I conclude that you don't have any information of any feasibility study? Because if there was none, then that is contrary to procurement laws.
If you know that there was none,
I'm asking, I don't know.
No, if you don't know, why are you asking?
I'm asking you.
No, if you don't know, why are you making an assertion on something that you don't know?
I've asked you a question.
What I can tell you is that, to the best of my knowledge, by the time contracts are progressed to a place where it is signed before a head of state, that those contracts should have met every condition.
And your predecessor found there was no feasibility study.
If he found out that there was no feasibility study, then he should have prosecuted the matter in the way it should have been.
Which happened. People were taken to court.
And then where did we end up with the contract? We end up with the government of Kenya.
Okay, Mr. President, just on that issue,
and if it went to court for 3 years, why didn't it progress?
So we are looking at it even...
And the president then was in office. Why didn't it progress for 3 years? If it was as simple as there is no feasibility study, I mean, it should have been an open and shut case.
We have seen what the judge has actually said. And you look at a situation whereby the prosecution is literally paralyzed in court. And this is not just even Aror and Kimwarer. I mean, in the last 15 months, we've seen one case after the other collapse in court. And this is keeping Kenyans thinking. Yes, you came in and said at that time, corruption was being weaponized. But now there's a feeling that now the law enforcers actually, it's a situation whereby there's protectionism instead of now the exact opposite of what was happening then. What do you tell Kenyans on this, where you find...
I want to tell the people of Kenya that I will discharge my responsibility in making sure that all independent institutions are appropriately facilitated. In fact, the DPP has sent a request on additional resources to hire more staff so that they can discharge their responsibility well. And I am looking at that request. We have given additional money to the judiciary. I will facilitate, my administration will facilitate all the independent agencies to discharge their responsibility. We will also dispense our responsibility in making sure that the judiciary is independent and doing their job. Yeah? That I will do. And I will make sure that nobody hides under the presidency, the government, friendship, anybody must be taken to court if they are committed crimes. But beyond that, I will also go the extra mile and prevent public money from being stolen. And that's what I'm doing. I am saying prevention is better than cure, they say. Yeah? That's why I'm saying for us to avoid unnecessary matters, let us see how we manage we manage public resources. And that's why I'm even telling, because there are some people who are still dodging the digitization process. They are still dodging the 222 government payment platform because they are used to paying things. In fact, I know, for example, some institutions, when we say they must pay through the digital platform, they are now asking for checks. Some of them are asking for back transfers because they don't want accountability. And I'm giving them a warning. We said by 31st of this month, every government service must be paid on e-citizen. And even land, which is the biggest challenge, we have now said the Ministry of Lands is going to be cashless, all the way to Mashinani. Anybody, and I'm telling Kenyans here, anybody who asks you for cash for payment of a public service, look at them in the eye and tell them they are fraudsters.
Na Mheshimiwa Rais, katika vita dhidi ya ufisadi na uhuru wa taasisi mbalimbali na mihimili tofauti ya serikali, umejitangaza wazi wazi kwamba hutalegeza kamba katika vita dhidi ya ufisadi.
Hutalegeza kamba.
Naam, na umekuwa na kauli ambazo umekuwa ukizitumia, na nikikunukuu wakati mmoja kwa kule magharibi ukizungumzia kuhusu wafisadi ambao unaamini wamelemaza sekta ya viwanda vya sukari. Ulisema ima uhame Kenya ama nikuweke jela ama usafiri uende mbinguni. Hili halijaonekana kuendana vyema na wachechemuzi wa haki za binadamu. Mbona usiruhusu mahakama ifanye kazi yake?
Nimezuia, si nimesema tutakupeleka mahakamani.
Inachukuliwa kama kitisho.
Lakini wacha nikueleze ya kwamba jambo la ufisadi ni figurative language to drive home the point that this is no longer a joke. And for your information, because of what I did, we have managed to sort out the biggest cartel in Mumias.
Vitisho vinafanya kazi?
No, sio vitisho, ni kuambia tu watu ukweli. Kwamba mahali mambo imefika, hatuwezi kuendelea vile tunaendelea. Lazima tubadilishe mwenendo wetu. And I am telling you, let me repeat here, that for those people who are corrupt, please look for another country. Because it is not going to be business as usual. Even as we look places where we find, even as we do what we have to do to make sure that all Kenyans are we avoid pilferage, we avoid corruption. Even as we do that, for those of the incorrigible characters, the people who benefit from corruption, the people who try even to influence the criminal justice system, you know, the people who beneficiaries, like what I talked to you about. I mean, surely the people who are going to court to stop, you know, implementation of programs that are public, you know, these are, and you know very well, you can see their fingerprints, that these are beneficiaries of corruption. They are so daring with impunity that they want to manipulate the whole system.
But
it is the same thing.
Isn't that democracy, really,
Mr.
President?
Is it democracy to steal?
No. Sorry.
Going to
I'm
court,
talking about the question of going to court,
yeah,
especially for the programs you're talking about.
No, I mean, I have no problem. I'm not complaining. I've said they've gone to court, but I'm going to call them out that I know you. I know the fellows who have gone to court. I know the fellows who are sponsoring this because I know them. They will not hide because I can see their fingerprints. Let me give you an example. I told the people of Kenya that we need to increase our savings as a percentage of our GDP, that we are doing very badly. Countries like China are at 55%. We are at 12, right? How do we build our savings? You know, there are characters who went to court to say, let us continue paying 200 shillings, you know? And then Kenya is rated among the last countries on age-old poverty, you know? Because if you save 200 shillings, Bwana Wafula, how much money, surely? We have so many people. And that is how we do not have a pool of resources in Kenya that we can use to drive our own development. That's why we go borrowing left, right, and center. So we went to court, right? They went to court. I mean, we passed the law 2014. They went to court. They stalled the thing 9 years, imagine, taking us from one courtroom to another. Then I called them and I told them, look at me in the eye, my friends. You have to stop this shit. You have to stop, sorry, you have to stop this nonsense. Yeah, it cannot continue like this, right? And they realized that I was not joking, you know? So we agreed on an out-of-court settlement because they knew very well that they were beneficiaries of this whole conundrum. What has happened? Just let me tell you. We have wasted 9 years. What has happened today is that we were collecting about 1.3 billion at NSSF. Today, we are collecting 6.5 billion every month at NSSF. We are going to double, Sam, we are going to double the amount of money in our savings in the next 4 years, just as I told the country. You know, that is transformative, but it has taken some, you know, tough engagement with corrupt people, right? You know, telling them it cannot continue like this. And I know when I believe this is the right thing, I go out of my way. Because, you know, I have been elected by ordinary people. They cannot do what I can do. They have given me the opportunity to do it for them.
Right.
So that we can begin even, the moment we have savings, we can even begin to reduce interest rates because we are talking about our own money.
Right.
We're not looking for money from other countries.
Mr. President.
This is how we're going to transform Kenya.
Mr. President, it's been 2 hours. My water is drained. Please sip yours as we transition to the next conversation, which is on governance issues, and Grace is going to take us through that.
Right, Mr. President, and this is basically point blank. Are you concerned about the performance of some of the people working under you, in particular cabinet secretaries? We saw you say that some CSs and PSs are clueless about their dockets sometime back this year. And there was this report released by TIFA just about 2 days ago, which placed some 5 CSs at the bottom. And unfortunately, these 5 are part or are at the heart of Kenya's economy. Energy CS was at the bottom. Gender CS, Treasury CS, Water CS, Land CS. Are you concerned about their performance, and what are you intending to do about it, Mr. President?
Number one, I don't believe in TIFA.
Why don't you?
Because TIFA is a fraud. TIFA and all these opinion poll people, they are paid.
By who?
Whoever pays them. Because
but you just said
they told us many stories. If it was TIFA, I would not be president. They said I would never win. They made all manner of allegations. So please, let's not talk about opinion polls. Let's not talk about TIFA. And I have no quarrel with them when I kuendelea na kusema ile wanasema, which is okay. Let's go to the performance, minus TIFA. Yeah.
But we can see the results. We can see the results because
let's go to okay.
I'm saying we can see the results. You have dismissed TIFA, but say energy, which is at the bottom. This is definitely here because of the frequent power outages that have been experienced in the country. So it has to be true.
It is not true. Let me tell you, that, yes, we've had about 4 different blackouts. And there is a reason for it, and I want to tell the people of Kenya that, yes, there's a problem. The problem is not about generation, because we have enough power in the grid. The problem is about investment. We haven't invested in our transmission lines and distribution lines in the last 8 years. Why haven't we invested? We didn't have a plan, number one, a clear plan. And where we had a plan, many things went wrong. For example, the 3 or 4 lines that are giving us real trouble, are lines that have been in court for like 7 years. We had a Spanish engagement with another group called Africa 50 that would help us connect the power from Takwel, the power from Ethiopia, and the power from Uganda into the grid, but those were never implemented. When I came into office, the first thing I did was, for example, there were transformers at the port for 5 years, and it only required 500 million. I paid it one day. That is why today we have connected power to Ortum. We are connecting power to Kitale from Takwel. We have so much power in Takwel, we cannot deliver it because there is no transmission line. What have we done? To be fair to, and I am not defending Davis, I just don't want him to be crucified for a problem that comes from afar. So what have we done? We have finally negotiated. I went to Korea. I negotiated a facility of 9 billion shillings. We are going to do 200 kilometers of transmission line, the ones that are part of what is causing the problem. We have finalized the procurement. Those will be constructed. We've also decided that because we do not have sufficient resources, we are going to work with the private sector. So we have another 8 lines, a total of 607 kilometers of transmission line that we have concessioned to a private sector for them to build the lines. And because we already have the law on wheeling charge, they will construct the lines, we will pay them as they transport our power. So we have a plan. And number three, we want to invest about maybe $100 or $120 million to island the supply of power, so that we will create about 5 zones. We already have 4 in place in terms of design, so that if there's a problem with power in one corner, it doesn't shut out the whole country, so that we isolate different places. It was supposed to be a factor of investment. And why is this the case, Sam? Just to, what we have done in the last 10 years, we have increased the number of people we are supplying electricity to from 2.3 million households to 9.4 million households. There should have been a commensurate investment to make sure that the transmission lines are strong enough to deliver power. So that was the gap.
But Mr. President, the bigger question is about yourself. You spoke to the nation. I think you are swearing in, was it CSs or who
Yes.
swearing in? And you said that you have a challenge with some of your cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries. There's certain things they do not know. In fact, you know more than they do.
I say,
how much of that is still a problem?
How much, when I said that, I was telling my CSS that read. If you remember the context, I told them, look, read briefs, understand your subject, understand your ministry, be on top of it. Because the moment I know more than you do about your ministry, then there is a problem, right? That was the context on. And what we have done concurrently, is we've had retreats of a cabinet. Yeah. We had one in Laikipia. We had another one recently. We are having one in February, just to make sure that we hem in everybody so that we are all aligned in the same direction. I want to tell you that many ministers, many PSS are now on the rhythm. They now understand where we want to go. And going back to what my sister said.
Grace.
Grace. What Grace said. There is all that around, because the economy is difficult. So you will find people saying this must be the man who is causing problems. We have a problem with the energy. Then it is easy to blame the minister. But let me say a broader thing, in this context, that to be able to move forward as a country, there are three important things that we must do. Number one, we must control debt. Number two, we must control expenditure. And number three, we must find revenue. We must find revenue. Yes, I have gone out of my way, and I think we have a handle on debt. We're managing debt. Many Kenyans today are paying taxes. I am making sure that through digitization, we manage to collect as much as possible, and it is not lost. I know it is painful on some on Kenyans that they've had to pay more, but this is temporary, and this is work in progress. We are going to see how to improve that. The third most important thing, which is important to me, is how we control expenditure. Apart from cutting down on excesses, we also need to look at opportunities. Do you know that we have 287 agencies of government, parastatals and companies? 287. How much do I spend on these agencies every year? 250 billion. Yeah. If I could save 50, 60, 70 billion from these organizations, I would do a lot more, and I would not be pushing more people in the tax direction. And that is why we changed the law to facilitate privatization, to facilitate strategic investment, to facilitate merger of some companies, and to facilitate closure of some. Let me give you an example, because many people have been asking, so why does the government want to sell, this company and this company and this company and this company? Taxpayers' money is being used, right, to support many of these companies. Let me give you an example. I know many people are very sentimental about KICC. We said we want to privatize KICC. Let me explain to the people of Kenya. KICC is an iconic building. Mm-hmm. It is the center of the city. Mm. All of us, including myself. When I came first to Nairobi, I came to that photograph place where we are holding KICC at the top. And that will continue. People will continue taking photographs at KICC. But that's not why KICC was not built. That was not why KICC was built. It was not built for photographs. It was built as a national asset. Mm-hmm. Let me tell the people of Kenya, KICC today is valued at 30 billion, right? How much money do we get from KICC? Last year we got 29 million. The other year we got, I think, 40 million. How much? 40 million. What a waste, because it is being managed inefficiently. I had to put 1.8 billion shillings to make it usable for Africa Climate Summit. Just imagine. So what I'm saying is, instead of having KICC as an office block, the whole of that KICC there has offices of this person and that person, they are paying nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Why don't we transform KICC for it to become the international conference center that it was built to be?
Right.
Right.
So when
just wait, the international conference center. And you know how much money we should be making from KICC if it is worth 30 billion? Even nominally, we should be getting 3 billion shillings a year. How much are we getting? We are not getting 3 billion. We are getting 29 million.
But Mr. President,
this is an asset of Kenya.
Mr. President,
this is a property of the
that
people
question about
Kenya.
privatization of KICC, for instance, of course, there's work that has to be done, public participation, people give their views, and
Correct.
eventually the decision is made. So is the intention to sell it all, or is it a portion of it?
The intention is to commercialize. The intention is to have a mechanism, a strategic investor, so that we need to make it a true conference facility. And if we make it a truly conference facility, it will give us more than 3 billion shillings a year. Today, we are getting 29 million. If you ask any ordinary Kenyan, would we rather continue getting 29 million? Would we do a strategic investment that would give us 3 or 4 or 5?
Kwa hivyo kumaanisha Mheshimiwa Rais, changamoto inayoikumba KICC imepita ufahamu wa kuweza kwa serikali kuweza kuihakikisha kwamba inapata kile inachofaa kupata mpaka mnakwenda katika mkondo wa kuiprivatize.
Good question, my dear sister. KICC was not built yesterday. It's been there all these years. It has not happened in all the governments that came before me, right? And this is why I am proposing what I am proposing, so that we have a different, exactly answering your question. Wale hawakufanya, mimi nataka kufanya. I want to change KICC so that it makes money. Give me a chance to change KICC so that it makes money. Let me conclude by saying, because our international conference center at KICC is not working, it has no capacity to host. If you go there, if I didn't invest 1.8 billion, nobody wants to have a meeting in KICC because it is dark, it has no facility, it has no what, it is no toilets, nothing. So what has happened as a result of underperformance of KICC? Do you know that Intercont Hotel is closed? Yeah. Do you know that Hilton Hotel is closed? Do you know that Crown Plaza is closed? Do you know that all these other hotels are struggling? Because we have no international conference facility. Conference facilities are the ones that support our tourism sector, our convention sector, our hotel industry. We not only want to invest or get a strategic investor for KICC, I am also going to get a strategic investor for Bomas of Kenya. We need to build another conference facility in Kenya, in Bomas of Kenya, and we need to build maybe 2-3 hotels in Bomas of Kenya. It is what is going to change the fortunes of our country, especially the space around tourism.
Right.
So let me persuade the people of Kenya, right? KICC is not being sold to anybody. KICC is not being taken anywhere. KICC will remain there. Those who want to take photographs, you can continue taking photographs. But for heaven's sake, allow me to get a strategic investor, and I am not going to do it at night. In fact, many people have been saying maybe we change the law to make it easy for government property to be disposed. That's not true. The reason why the former law was changed is because since 2005, or is it 2009 when it was implemented, we have not privatized a single thing because it was convoluted and it never went anywhere. Let me give you,
Mr. President,
benefits. Allow me, because you know this is a very important thing to me.
Yes,
so this is so when we said we want to commercialize KICC, there are companies, Grace, there are companies like Postbank. Every morning when we open Postbank, we lose 3 million. In the last 5 years, we have lost 1 billion shillings every year. How much? 1 billion shillings every year. Because nobody wants to make a decision about Postbank. I want to make a decision about Postbank. I want to get the employees who are working in Postbank. I want to second them to other institutions. We close down Postbank. We stop losing 1 billion shillings. We stop losing 1 billion shillings every year, and we do something with a fund that is there instead of taking money from the fund and spending it. And you know, we are just being not prudent at all. Let me give you another example. Because, this is what I want to do. This is what we are talking about. When we talk about privatization, we are not talking about just sale. We are talking about 4 or 5 aspects. There are places that will be leased. There are others that you will get strategic investors. There are others that you will get, that you will take to the stock exchange. Let me give you another example. Kenya Pipeline Company. Kenya Pipeline Company is a company that is worth 300 billion Kenya shillings. How much?
300 billion.
300 billion. How much money are the people of Kenya getting from Kenya Pipeline? I think it is only once or twice that we have gotten 1 billion a year. Otherwise, we get 200 million, we get 300 million. This company, Kenya Pipeline, should be giving the people of Kenya 30 billion shillings every year.
So is it mismanagement or?
No, it is just strategic thinking that is not there. And that is what I want to do. It is just strategic thinking.
What
so
KCC?
I'll come back there. What we need to do is, there are people who still that mentality, mali ya serikali si mali ya mtu. No. Mali ya serikali is our collective property, and it has to be managed well. And I have a responsibility to the people of Kenya that it is managed well. And I intend to manage it well. What have I done? I have changed policy. I brought the policy because it is in my manifesto. I brought policy to cabinet. We said we need to change what we call government-owned enterprise policy. Ownership policy. As an owner, every shareholder demands money for their shares. We are the shareholders. We demand money from the companies that are owned by government. So what do we need to do, for example, in Kenya Pipeline?
Right.
Kenya Pipeline, there is nothing strategic about Kenya Pipeline. This is just a transporter of fuel. That's all, it's a matatu for fuel. So what do we need to do? First, I have told them this year, they must give us a dividend of 5 billion this year. And they're going to give it. Because I have told them, you have to stop all these shenanigans. This is public asset. We cannot be taxing Kenyans when there is an asset here that should be giving us money.
How do you arrive at that target
of
5 billion?
It is the initial money, but it should actually be 30 billion every year, because any economist will tell you if your asset is this much, 10%, even if you were to, because if we were to sell Kenya Pipeline at 300 billion, we would get 300 billion, put it in a fixed deposit, we earn 30 billion every year. And yet we have the money sitting inside there. Okay. So let me conclude. Let me conclude by saying, let me conclude by saying this. And I'm sorry, I have to explain to the people of Kenya some of the things that are being, misconstrued to mean that we are not being prudent. I brought policy and I said, we are going to make sure that every government asset gives money to the shareholder, the government of Kenya, so that we look for additional revenue, because we cannot borrow. We have pushed Kenya enough on taxes. The only other way to raise money is to sweat our assets. Yeah, is to sweat our assets. We must get our assets to pay us dividends. That's why, for example, Kenya Power, we have removed 4 directors that I appointed into the board to allow the private sector to appoint directors, because we want it to be run with the private sector support, because we value what the private sector has to say. Let me conclude by saying the following. Why is this in the right direction? Let me answer what this good man has said. KCC, for example, we want to have a conversation with farmers. We want farmers to own KCC. We want to give them, we want to see with them already dairy board were in India. The Indian equivalent of KCC is paying farmers higher than our KCC for the same product, and is charging the consumer lower than we are charging, because they have built in much more professionalism, much more. So we want to do that. And for Mwea, I know there is a problem, Mwea rice mill. We started Mwea rice mill way back in the 70s when there was no rice mill. Today, we have 100 rice mills in Mwea.
Mr. President,
we don't have to own it. We want to give it. In fact, the reason why we are discussing Mwea rice mill is because we want to give it to farmers.
Okay.
And there is no other way of giving it unless you take it through a process.
Mr. President, we cannot exhaust the list of 11 farms that are to be privatized. But I want us to spend some time and talk about the diplomatic status of the country, of Kenya, in the regional and global space. You want to take us through that?
Yeah, pengine Mheshimiwa Rais unaweza kutueleza uhusiano wa Kenya na nchi zetu jirani. Tukizungumzia pengine kama Uganda upo vipi? Tunakumbuka kwamba kulikuwa na lile swala la uhusiano wako baina ya Rais Yoweri Museveni kuhusiana na oil deal. Sijui kama uhusiano wenu upo vipi kwa sasa.
Is that the only around that space?
No. I can ask
the question is
Tanzania.
About. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think you need to ask
exactly. Of late, we've not seen there's Mama Samia kiasi pia amekuwa kirusharusha maneno kuhusiana na namna taifa letu linavyoendeshwa na kadhalika, jambo ambalo tunatuuliza. Juzi umesema unakuja na visa free Kenya, watu watakuwa naingia. Je, katika muungano wetu pia wa Afrika Mashariki protocols zinasemaje kuhusiana na kauli ambayo ilitoa pamoja na uhusiano wa jumuiya?
There are also concerns on a Jamhuri Day, the notable absence of Yoweri Museveni, Samia Suluhu Hassan, Paul Kagame, Evariste Ndayishimiye as part of that.
Okay, let me start with yours. Do they normally attend Jamhuri Day? No. So, I mean, how do you ask about absence of somebody who normally is not?
Were they invited?
We didn't invite them. And they came, you know, some of the people came just because we are East Africans. Do I attend the national days of the other countries? I don't. So does that mean that there's a problem? No. So let's leave that one there. Number two, the relationship between Museveni and myself are perfect. The relationship between Kenya and Tanzania is perfect. The relationship between Kenya and Tanzania is perfect. On the visa issue, today, forget about my announcement, you don't need a visa to go to Tanzania. Neither do you need a visa to go to any country in East Africa. So the fact that we are actually formalizing what is already in place. So there is no contradiction between our visa-free and that. But let me say one more thing, if you allow me. I've answered that one quickly so that you can allow me to say something else. Let me say this because, you know, let me tell you, the economy is very important to me. And that's why I want us to spend time there a bit. The economy is very important to me. I have told you that we need to raise revenue. Why am I targeting raising revenue from our assets? Look, for the example, Safaricom. Safaricom was a small department in telco. Yeah? What did we do? We took it to privatization. We asked Vodafone to come and invest. We gave them 40%. Then we sold another 25% to the public in Kenya. Today, the small Safaricom that was at the corner in telecom, today is the largest company in Kenya. Today, the value of Safaricom is 360 billion. Today, Safaricom is supporting 1.2 million jobs. Today, Safaricom has given the government of Kenya, through taxes, in the last 15 years, 1.3 trillion shillings. Today, Safaricom gives government of Kenya 20 billion average every year as dividends. Now, my good brother, that is the value of privatization. A small company has become something. Let me give you another example, KCB. We privatized KCB. It was an underperforming institution then. Then the value of Safaricom, of KCB then was 600 million. That time in 1988 when it was privatized. What is KCB today? KCB today, its value is about 120 billion at the current rate. 120 billion. It is in 7 countries. It has 12,000 employees. It has 33 million customers. The value of what privatization does. So let us accept as Kenyans that a company like Kenya Pipeline, we can privatize. It will give us money. It will give us revenue.
Right.
We should be able to look at what do we do with the port? What have other countries done? So that we reduce the pressure on taxes because we can raise more revenue by sweating assets that we have.
Mr. President, taking you back to the question of the region.
Yes.
And specifically, President Museveni said that it cannot be that you're going to continue buying oil from brokers. And in fact, there's a change of policy in the Republic of Uganda to an extent that now their eunuch is the one that is going to import fuel. And there are other conversations, I'm sure you've seen them, that they want to go through the central corridor. Of course, it's at the initial stage of those conversations. Is Kenya becoming less attractive, less competitive in the region? And what are we doing to ensure that we continue to enjoy the place we have in a competitive manner? Because the Central Bank of Kenya Governor Kamothuge has spoken to this question, saying that actually those other countries have better FDIs as you speak.
And just because you want to answer those questions in a block, Mr. President, you were in China for many reasons, and Kenyans hope that you will come back with a deal on SGR so that we move away from a situation where our railway ended in the middle of nowhere. And you have Uganda that you need support from, and yet our relationship with our neighbors is becoming a concern if I would
According
say
to
that.
the media, it's becoming a concern.
So did we get something from China? Is Uganda part of the reasons why we didn't get the money to continue our SGR?
By the way, we approached China for the continuation of the railway as a package. It is a prosecution. Before I went to China, I had a conversation with President Museveni, and we agreed on the strategy to extend the railway. By the way, we have a strategy all the way. It is agreed, Kenya, Uganda, DRC, and even Congo-Brazzaville. We've all agreed that that route, we will, all of us, and in fact, before I left China, the president of Congo-Brazzaville went to see the Chinese president with the same request for this SGR. So we are all aligned. So, and that tells you that we are good in the region. Your other question was
the oil brokers.
The oil issue.
Yeah.
We have agreed with Uganda on what to do. Uganda is a sovereign country. Yeah, they want to control their market. Their market at the moment is being controlled by oil companies in Uganda. They have made a different decision. For us, NOC, which is our national oil company, does not control fuel here because we are a free market. Yeah, fuel is brought by the private sector. Yeah, it is all these marketers that deal with the fuel. In Uganda, that has been the case. But Uganda is a sovereign country. If they decide that government wants to control using UNOC, that is a decision Uganda has made. As Kenya, we want to work, because we're a free market, we want to work with the oil marketing companies. All we do collectively is to source the product collectively, and then it is, so Uganda wants the product to go to UNOC in Uganda, and then UNOC distributes, which is fine by us.
Where does it pass? Through what port?
Through Mombasa. I think it's the only reasonable, if you look at all numbers, that is the only feasible road, route. What we have agreed with them is that we will agree on a structure where, using our pipeline, we will need to ration who uses the pipeline, because it is an asset.
Don't you think we're losing? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the exports for this country is oil to Uganda, isn't it? So aren't we losing that?
Why are we losing? The oil will still go through here. They will still pay the charges they have been paying to go to Uganda. It is not that we have been making money from Uganda. They have been buying their own, they have been buying fuel from the same source as we do. The only thing is that we've been sourcing it together.
So in the East African community, is there any conversation that countries like Uganda may choose to use the port in Tanzania?
Any country can choose whatever what is financially usable for them.
And therefore, what are we doing to ensure that we are competitive so that we
are
don't lose?
Very competitive, I can tell you. In fact, the Kenyan route is the only competitive route to go to Eastern DRC and to go to Uganda. In fact, we are having a conversation with Rwanda because they equally find this route, especially if we can connect from Kisumu across the Lake Victoria, that will even be a shorter route to Rwanda.
So, Mr. President, if we have agreed as a region on the railway infrastructure, and really is really important even for the economy, which you are passionate about, then what is the issue? Because first it was bankability of the project, and that was to be solved by the feasibility study. Then second, it was to be the region needed to come on board as a block so that the project can become viable into the long term. So if as a region we are aligned, what is the problem?
The challenge that we have now with the railway is twofold. Number one is that our headroom on debt, we cannot borrow anymore. So we have asked China to invest, not to lend us money. Yeah? We are having that conversation. And some of their companies are considering investing their money, yeah, instead of us borrowing the money. We are also having a conversation as to what is the timing? You know, when do we want this delivered? So those are the conversations that are going on. As you know, our exposure is on the limit. So we cannot, and I will not, borrow any more money. And I have made that commitment to the people of Kenya. What we can do is we are looking at alternative options. Can we have a public-private partnership that will see China and Chinese companies invest in the pipeline? That is the conversation that we are having.
Mheshimiwa, mwisho, kuna swala la DRC hapa. Tuna tatizo lolote taifa la Kenya na DRC?
Hatuna matatizo kabisa na nchi jirani ya East Africa ya DRC. DRC wako na uchaguzi. Sisi kama wa Kenya tulienda kuwasaidia katika changamoto walizo nazo kwa mambo ya usalama. Jeshi letu lilienda pale, tukasimamisha vita ambayo ilikuwa inaenda pale, tukiwa pamoja na ndugu zetu wa kutoka Uganda, kutoka Burundi na kutoka South Sudan. Tumefanya kazi hiyo kwa muda wa mwaka mmoja. Baada ya mwaka mmoja, wao wenyewe wamesema ya kwamba wanaona sasa msaada wetu imefika mwisho. Tukakubaliana, tukafanya summit hapa Arusha, tukakubaliana sasa sisi tutatafuta namna gradually to exit from the scene so that other countries can come and support them. Jana ama juzi kulikuwa na mkutano hapa Nairobi ya wananchi wa DRC, wakatoa statement. Watu wa DRC wakalalamika kwamba hiyo statement Kenya haingekubali hiyo statement itolewe pale. Msimamo wetu kama Kenya ni kwamba sisi ni nchi demokrasia. Na nyinyi mnajua, nyinyi ni watu wa vyombo vya habari. Hakuna mtu anauliza serikali kwenda kutoa taarifa yeyote. So they issued a statement from here. DRC wanted to know whether those people, we can arrest them. Then we told them, you know, Kenya is a democracy. We cannot arrest anybody who has issued a statement. We don't arrest people who have made us, we arrest criminals. If anybody has committed any criminality, we will go out of our way to deal with them. But issuing statements, how many people issue statements in Kenya against me? Every day, people are issuing statements left, right, and center. That is what the democracy is all about. In any case, Kenya here has the biggest bureau. You guys know the biggest bureau of journalists from BBC, I don't know, CNN, I don't know where. Everybody is here. So, and that is what people are looking for. So
now,
Kenya is a media hub.
By recalling the ambassador from Nairobi, what does that mean? Do you have a problem now?
If they decide that they want to recall our ambassador because a statement was issued in Nairobi, that is their right. But, you know, I cannot arrest anybody merely because they issued a statement. That is undemocratic. That is not how Kenya is. That is not the Kenya you all know. So, you know, we are all different. Countries are democracies in different ways.
Okay.
Mheshimiwa, mwisho kabisa kabla tujamaliza, siwezi kukuacha bila kuuliza swala la elimu. Tumepata malalamiko mengi sana. Nimepata jumbe nyingi tangu jana kuelezea kwamba tutakuwa na rais. Watu wengi ambao walikuwa wanafanya internship kuhusiana na JSS wanalalamika kwamba wanahitaji kupewa nafasi. Yani wapewe nafasi za kazi, manake muda wao unaishia mwezi huu, nafikiri tarehe 31. Umeweka mikakati gani ama mipango gani kuwaeka wakati ambapo pia junior secondary school inafaa kufungua mwezi wa Januari, waendelee na vile kuwe hakuna tatizo lolote kwa wazazi, wanafunzi na hata pia mikakati ya serikali kuhusiana na swala la elimu? Naomba tujibu hili wewe kama rais.
Mimi nitajibu.
Manake isiwe mambo ya kupeleka kwa wizara itafanya hivi na hivi.
Mimi nitakujibu.
Ndio.
Mambo ya wanafunzi ama walimu wa JSS, Januari watakuwa kazini, kwa sababu tulitoa sera kama serikali ya kwamba sekta zote kabla ya kuajiriwa permanent and pensionable unafanya kazi internship miaka miwili. So they will complete, once they complete their internship of 2 years, we will hire everybody. So they need to relax. They need to go through the process. They will have the first priority when we hire teachers after the internship. And we are not doing internship only with teachers. We are doing internship with many other sectors. In fact, we've just gotten a cohort of interns at the public service, because internship is part of the learning process and the job process. So our interns that are doing a wonderful job as teachers, they need to relax. Nobody is going to take their place in January.
So there'll be what?
They will continue to complete. They will continue to complete their internship
for 2 years.
2 years, which is a government policy, and that is understood. After the 2 years, they will be hired as we absorb others into internship to graduate slowly like that.
Okay. Unahakikishia walimu wote 50,000 hivi watapata kandarasi za kudumu baada ya miaka miwili.
Correct.
Mr. President, we want to wind up, but a lot of conversations and many questions that are coming in, including one who is asking that, back to our earlier conversation about the housing levy and that question of accountability, do you know now how much has been collected from that levy and why it is?
I know that I don't have the final figures with me here, but I know we've been collecting ever since the law was passed, and it is on average about around 60 billion shillings or thereabout, plus or minus every month.
60 billion shillings?
Every month.
Yes. So,
60 billion shillings?
I think so. I think that's the correct number.
So in a year, that would be 60 times 12. What is that? 720 billion?
720.
Well, let me not, I don't know whether, no, maybe six, yeah, I think it is, sorry. I think it is about 6 billion, sorry, about 6 billion. So I think every year it is somewhere between 60 and 80 billion every year.
Where is that money now?
That money is already constructing houses.
Under what law? What framework?
There is already a framework. Only the court said we fine-tune the framework. That money is already constructing houses under the framework with the Ministry of Housing. Some of it is being used we've already allocated to National Housing Corporation. And the construction of houses is going full steam across Kenya. We have, by the way, we have 33 sites, active sites going on. I want to ask you to go to Mukuru. We are building 14,000 houses in Mukuru. If you go today to Mukuru, you will not think it is a slum.
So
you will think it is in Europe.
That is being financed by these resources.
Yes.
Not private investor resources.
No, this is being financed by these resources.
So if it's 6 billion every month, you're saying 60 to 80 each year.
Every year.
So how many houses does that construct?
It will depend, because we are constructing houses of between 400,000 per house. Others will be 1 million. Others will be 3 million. It is different categories.
No, that's the selling price. I'm talking about the cost.
But the cost is commensurate with what you sell, because it depends with sizes. The smaller ones cost less. The 1 bedroom, the bed sitter, the 1 bedroom, the 2 bedroom, the 3 bedroom cost different. So it will depend on how many.
Mr. President, I asked that question because it's been a very stubborn question. Not many have an answer.
I have an answer.
Not your members of parliament, not your cabinet
secretaries. I have an answer. And in fact, if you call the ministry responsible, they will explain to you in detail.
Now?
Yes.
Okay.
In detail.
Mr. President,
yes.
The last question, which I was told to ask you, would be, is there hope?
Oh my goodness, let me tell you. We are going to change Kenya. I am very positive. I am very clear in my mind that I have only one mission: to change Kenya. And by the way, I have every intention to do it. And I know very well that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult. But it is never too late to do the right thing. You cannot be wrong by doing the right thing. So I intend to transform Kenya. We have always known and wanted to do what we know is right. We know we should create jobs. We know what we need to do to create jobs. We know we should control our expenditure. We know what but the thing that has been lacking is somebody to lead the way in doing it. I intend to lead the way in doing it.
Mr. President,
changing Kenya.
We have to leave it at that. I think that counts for a good closing remark, unless you have anything else to add.
No, let me appreciate all you guys, and let me appreciate the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya are a great people. Even in very difficult times, I find a lot of encouraging messages. Many people tell me, we know things are difficult. We know you are having a difficult time, but keep on keeping on, because we know that finally this country will change. And I have every intention to keep it here until Kenya changes.
Mr. President, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
This has been a conversation with the President of the Republic, President William Samoei Ruto, with representation from different media houses, that is KTN News, TV47, Nation Media Group, K24, KBC, and Citizen TV. Good night, good luck. My name is Sam Gituku. Bye for now.
per week. I can even collect around 50k. Even I can show you the messages.
50,000.
50,000.
Sasa wewe ni ule mtu anafanya kwa bank, mnaendana
hivi, hatuachani, hakuna distance. Hakuna distance.
Sasa tuendelee then kwa restaurant nini?
Kwa restaurant tukakula, tukakunywa. We got out. Airbnb somewhere. We stayed there around two days, yeah. Then I went back to Ruiru because it's where I stay. Yes.
So hebu tueleze ile kilikuwa tu mara moja tu then mkaenda out akachukua Airbnb ama kuliendaje? Like you met frequently ama?
Yeah, we used to talk. We met until we did those things that, yeah, beyond. We went beyond
Beyond the expectations.
Yeah. Beyond the expectations. So after that, our communication went down a little bit. It was sad.
Sasa communication iko down but bado pesa anakupea.
Pesa pia ilianza kupungua kiasi. Manake sikuwa namuomba pesa ama namwambia nahitaji hii. Yeye mwenyewe alikuwa napata tu ametuma. All I had to say is thank you. Yeah. So communication ikapungua, pesa ikapungua. Sasa ndo unaanza kuona reality.
Sasa nikuulize, hizi pesa ulikuwa unapata most ulikuwa unafanyia nini, ama ulikuwa tu ni sherehe? Like were you buying maybe assets, were you investing, or what were you doing with it?
Yeah, I said I'm a fashion and designer. So I have a shop here at what is it called? Nairobi Textile, where we sell our bricks and all that. Yeah.
Sasa hapo sasa communication imekatika just after tu.
After the yeah, after we went beyond. The communication was down. So I started asking myself, where did I go wrong? But I didn't get the answer. So I shared to my friend, but it's okay. Maybe there is something going on, but it will be okay. So as we continued, and I saw that the communication is quite low, I decided also to keep quiet. After some time, I realized some certain changes in my body. I had to go to the nearby chemistry. I got some painkillers because my head was almost exploding. I went to the nearby chemistry. I got some painkillers, but I didn't feel better. I decided to go to hospital.
So hii time yote like communication iko chini.
Yeah.
So after how long ukaanza kufeel like you feel that you're not okay? A week ama 4 days, 5 days ama how long?
After 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. Nikaanza kusikia.
So like you're suspecting like you're maybe expectant ama?
Yeah. That was the first thing, expectant. So I went to the hospital. I consulted the doctor. I was sent to the laboratory, and I got the answers, of which I can say it was negative. I don't know.
So like maybe ulikuwa umepata some maybe STIs, pregnancy, maybe any HIV and AIDS ama nini like ulipata pale that like I'm feeling naona you're low?
I found that I was pregnant. I needed to accept it. At first, I didn't say to my parents because I'd lower my self-esteem a lot. But I'm here. I'm okay. Went on. When I was 6 months pregnant, when I was in the hospital, I had that same time I having rashes, changes, most of the changes. So I went to another VCT, and I was found to be
Like so you are in the, maybe let me say second week kwanza kuna some changes that the, let me, after 2 weeks then you're going for maybe say for the checkup, for the antenatal clinic hivyo, you're pregnant, so then ukaona some changes, then ukaenda ukachange hospitali, then ukaanza kujiuliza how went, then ikafikaje ukaenda kwa VCT nini na nini?
sikutaka kwanza ijulikane kwa hiyo hospitali. So I decided to go to a VCT. And that's where I got my answer from. I found myself that